Hope you are getting the screen. Are you getting this screen has been shared?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'm moving ahead once again. So microprocessor is the heart of the computer. We call it the heart of the computer. And microcontroller is the heart of the embedded system. Microprocessor is the heart of the computing system. Microcontroller is the heart of the embedded system. Microprocessor generally it is just a processor. All your IO and memory has to be connected externally. We need to connect them externally because memory and IO devices need to connect externally. But in microcontroller, basically it has external processor along with internal memory and IO devices. The processor will be there. Along with that, some internal memory, some internal IO device also will be there itself. That is the major advantage with respect to microcontroller. But it is applicable only for the limited applications. But if you want to go for a big app or big system, you need to have external IO devices, you need to have external memory for that also. On applications like toys and all, or even gadgets, your electronic gadgets, handheld gadgets, external devices are not required. Internally, it's available. Internal IO, internal memory can be used over it. So in your mobile only, we are having internal memory. No need to have the external memory. Internal 32 GB, 64 GB, something is there. That is more than enough for us. Okay, so like that, microprocessor, we need to connect external memory, but in microcontroller, we will be having some internal memory and some internal IO devices. What else the difference? Since the memory and IO device has to be connected externally, the circuit becomes large in microprocessor based system because all are externally connected. We need external wires, buses, and communication. It looks large enough. Microprocessor based system are physically they look large. Microcontroller based system, they're almost in compact size. Okay, becomes because memory is internal, IO is internal, not required to connect external devices. So the small size and compact size we can go for it. But since the size is small, it is going to become complex. Complexity increases.
So,
Microprocessor. Hello.
sir, Aisha is texting me, sir. She's saying that you have to allow us.
So, now I have changed the option. Ayesha, Abhishek, Anushree. If those who are not able to join, let them text me directly. Now Ayesha might have joined, I think. Ayesha, could you join the session?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So if you are not able to join, kindly text me. I'm mobile also with me. I'm handling that. It's no issue.
Okay,
I'll
sir.
continue. I'll continue now. Okay, now I have explained about two differences. Now I'm going with the third one. That is IO devices are connected externally, so the circuit becomes large, but easily you can debug. But in microcontroller based IO devices are internal, memory is internal, circuit is large, sorry, complex is large, circuit may be small. And microprocessors cannot be used in compact systems and hence inefficient. They cannot be used in compact system. That's why it's inefficient. It can be used in compact system, hence it is an efficient technique. So small devices we can use it, efficient we can go for it, and easy to carry. Cost of the entire system is more when you go for the microprocessor based system. Microprocessor based system cost is more. Microcontroller based system it's very economical. 50 paise, 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 3 rupee, like that you are going to get that. Very low microcontroller based system. What are the other differences? Due to external components, the entire power consumption is more in microcontroller based systems. Obviously, when more people are working, more energy has to be consumed. When less people are working, less energy is going to be consumed over there. Okay, so hence it is not suitable to use it to be used with devices running on stored power like batteries. So whenever you are going for a microprocessor based system, it is not feasible for battery powered systems. Battery power, see, my laptop, it can work. It's a battery based, but not for the continuous time. It is, battery will be having some limitation, 3 hours or 4 hours, it may work. Afterwards, I need to charge it out. So microprocessor based system cannot be used for longer duration because it is cannot be working on battery powered energy for a longer duration. But the microcontrollers, since the external components are low, the entire power consumption is low and can be used with devices running on stored power like batteries. Just a advantage for the microcontroller based. Most of the microprocessors do not have the power saving features. Most of the microprocessors have power saving features. Microcontrollers have power saving features like idle mode, power saving mode. This helps to reduce the power consumption. Okay, so idle mode will be there, power saving mode will be there. So it will help us to save the power. Since the microprocessor has less number of registers, hence more operations are memory based. I told you in yesterday's class, microcontrollers are having more registers and will not work on the memory directly. But microprocessors, they're having less number of register. There is an option for operating on the memory directly. On the memory, we can do the operation. Microcontrollers have more number of registers, hence the programs are easier to write. Mainly used in the personal computer. Microprocessors are mainly used in the personal computers. Microcontrollers are mainly used in the embedded systems like washing machines, MP3 players, all embedded systems what we are having currently, they're all using the microcontrollers. So see this architecture or the diagram. Just by seeing the diagram itself, you can able to find out how exactly it differs, how the microprocessors and microcontrollers differs over there. So it is better to write this diagram also when you are having a question on what is the difference between microprocessor and microcontroller. So you can write this. Write the diagram for the. Excuse me. See, we are having a microprocessor. I'm just explaining the left side diagram now. We are having a microprocessor here, and so many devices are externally connected using the bus. We are having a separate buses for all of them, system buses. Timer need to be connected, I/O ports need to be connected, memory need to be connected, serial interface need to be connected, external device need to be connected. So everything will be connected externally to the processor. So it consumes more power, it consumes large area, and it is also costlier. But when it comes to microcontroller, it's a single chip, one chip or one die area where all are connected together internally. This is a microcontroller which is having a timer internally, which is having I/O port internally, which is having read-only memory, which is having the read-write memory, serial interface. Whatever we're having here, they have written separately here, but they have written together. A small diagram, we can easily write it, and we can, once you write down this, we can write all the differences between both of them. It's a simple explanation which will fetch you minimum 6 to 8 marks. Minimum 6 marks or maximum to make you 8 marks itself. So this is what I left out in the previous classes. So it was there in some other slide. So I found that slide today and I am able to explain that. Any clarifications with respect to this? What is microprocessor? What is microcontrollers? So many electronic embedded systems, they're using the microcontrollers because everything is built in. Every push button, just by a push button, we can able to operate that. But in microprocessor based system, they're all cost is increasing, power consumption is increasing, area is increasing, and battery power is less, complexity increases, so many things. That's all with respect to your microprocessor versus microcontroller. Now, when it comes across the embedded system, because I need to continue with the embedded system with respect to microcontroller, where and all we are going to use the embedded systems. Embedded systems are commonly used in consumer electronics. Consumer electronics, maybe your refrigerator, washing machine, micro oven, or your dishwasher, anything. Cooking, I can go a cooking device where microcontrollers have been used. You might have heard about electronic cooker, a microcontroller based it is going to be. Okay. Industrial applications. All the industries nowadays it's automated. 24/7 they may be working over there. Manual intervention will not be there. So who has to control? Microcontroller will control the machines itself. So it may be your milk factory, it may be a food and beverages, or whatever the types of the factories they're having, even IC manufacturing, even PCB manufacturing, all the industries, there are embedded industries, they're all based on the microcontroller, working on the microcontroller. And the very important is automatic. I told you your vehicles, two-wheelers, four-wheelers, even aircrafts, they're all microcontroller based uh, vehicles, electronic vehicles. Nowadays, you may have heard about electronic vehicles, EV, electronic two-wheeler, four-wheeler, even bus is coming. All are microcontroller based. Everything is controlled. Sensors, lot of sensors have been incorporated. They will be working. So they are all called as embedded system. Medical, commercial, and military applications everywhere. So when it comes to consumer electronics, MP3 players, mobile phones, video game consoles, digital cameras, GPS, receivers, and printers. When it comes to household appliances, microwave oven, washing machine, refrigerator, dishwashers, and higher-end TVs. So nowadays, the smart TVs, what we are having, there are sensors, cameras, and everything. If you are connected to internet, TV can be connected to net, and a hacker can hack your TV. Hacker can hack your cameras in the TV, and he can capture the photos and videos of your entire lobby, wherever your TV has been kept. So you have to be very careful when you are watching the TV or you're in the drawing room, wherever you kept the TV. Never connect that one to internet always, or be in your safer side. That is what my suggestion. There are so many articles has come. They are hacking the TVs, hacking the cameras in the TV. They are capturing the images and videos and blackmailing the people. So embedded system is having the advantage and is also having the disadvantage like this. We have to be careful. Those who are having the smart TVs in your homes, do never connect the internet always. And when you are connecting internet and using that one, be safe. See to that one, everything is in a proper order. They're able to watch the entire home, what's happening in the home. They can see how rich you are, how poor you are, and they're able to, they can hack everything. So these are the household appliances, what we're having. Includes embedded system to provide the flexibility, efficiency, and features. So that's what flexibility. It can give the flexibility. Anywhere you can sit and you can switch on the TV, you can switch on the monitor, you can watch the TV. That is what is happening. Embedded systems are computing system but can range from having no user interface. For example, device in which the embedded system is designed to perform a single task. Complex graphical user interface such as mobile devices. User interface can include buttons, LEDs, touchscreens, all those things. These things are explained over there. Embedded system can be microcontroller or microprocessor based. See, one more contrary statement. Almost all the devices are microcontroller based, but some of the devices are microprocessor based also. These things I've explained long back. So this is LPC 2148. I told you one image I have shown you like NXP LPC 214X, Philips LPC 214X. So this is how the entire pin diagram which is there in your embedded system. Totally 16, 16, 16, 16. Totally 64 pins are there, and each one will be having multiple operations. So if you carefully watch this one, if you zoom and watch this, you can see P022, AD 1.7, CAP 0.0, at 0.00. Pin number 2, it is able to do 4 different operations. Pin number 2 is able to do 4 different operations. Similarly, pin number 15. Pin number 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 different operations can come. So almost all the pins, they are able to do more than one operations. So minimum 64 operations, 64 configuration means connections, and beyond that also you can go for it. This is what I told you. Philips and NXP and ARM processor. This is a processor which is having more than 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24 pin IC it's going to be 24, 24, 24, 24. There you go. So this is, see here, a small die 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. ARM7, which is there in your electronic one PCB. It may be your Arduino board or something, a board which is by NXP, and your ARM LPC2148 has been embedded here. See here, there is one more ARM embedded system. Here at the center, we are having LPC2148, and this is the entire system which is ARM7 which is used. This is one more NXP. So this is 7. This is NXP's device. Lot of different gadgets are using your ARM processor. ARM's designers have come a long way from the first ARM1 prototype to 1985. 1 billion. I already explained this. These things also explained in the previous class: instruction, pipelining, register, load store architecture, complexity, and portability, high code density, price sensitive, small die area, variable instruction set, thumb instruction, conditional execution, enhanced instruction. Because the same thing has been repeated here. These things I'll just run through. Last class only I've explained it. I need to go for the bus master, bus slave. Bus master, a logical device capable of initiating the data transfer with another device across the same bus. Logical device is capable of only for responding to the transfer request from the master. AMBA, Advanced Microcontroller Bus Architecture. ASB and APB, AHB and APB. Memory also I've explained last class, different types of memories. Memory controllers, interrupt controller. See, memory controller, it can control the cache, it can control the RAM, it can control the ROM, it can control the secondary memory. Interrupt controller, there may be interrupt, hardware interrupt, or software interrupt, keyboard interrupt, mouse interrupt, printer interrupt, display interrupt, motor interrupts. Any type of interrupts can be controlled by the interrupt controllers. There are two types of interrupt controller. One is a standard interrupt controller, other is a vector interrupt controller. Standard interrupt controller. The standard interrupt controller sends an interrupt signal to the processor core when an external device requests a service. When an external device requests a service, this is standard interrupt controller will come across. Vector interrupt controller is more powerful than the standard interrupt controller because it prioritizes the interrupts. Vector is more interrupts are there. Simultaneously, more interrupts comes into being, more than one interrupt. Here we have to prioritize that. Which interrupt has to be handled first? Whether it's the first come first serve or it's having the highest priority, all those things we have to look into. That will be taken care by the vector interrupt controller. Two types of interrupt controllers. If there is a question on controllers in ARM, one is the memory controller, other is the interrupt controller. You should explain standard interrupt controller, you should explain the vector interrupt controller also. So now today's topic, embedded system software. An embedded system needs software to drive it. See, electronic people, electronic engineers, they may manufacture any electronic devices. They can draw the circuit, they can give it to the machine will fabricate it and give. But to run that, to operate that, we need a software. Without the software, hardware will not work. Similarly, without the hardware, software cannot be placed anywhere. We cannot place it in a cloud. Just namesake, we cannot place it in a cloud. It should be kept in some hardware itself. So, hardware and software put together, we can work. Electronics and computer science people should work together. Then only embedded systems comes into picture. Here in the figure, there are four typical software components are there. Four typical software components. They are called device drivers, device driver installation, operating system, applications. So hardware device will be at the bottom. Above that hardware, we are going to place it. So an embedded system needs software to drive it. Here, 4 typical software components required to control an embedded device. The installation code is the first code. See here, the installation code here. The first part, the installation code is the first code executed on the board and is specified to a particular target. The first code executed on the board on the hardware and is specified to a particular target. The operating system what we are having provides an infrastructure to control applications and manage hardware system resources. It has to provide a control for provide infrastructure to control applications. The OS is the interface between the hardware and the software. Without the OS, we cannot do anything on the hardware, we cannot run the application also. So it is infrastructure to control applications and manage hardware system resources. The device drivers, any device which is connected, which is plug and play, the device driver software should be there. Without the device driver software, we cannot plug any device over there. Then it is not possible to operate. The device drivers are the third component shown in the figure, controls a particular type of device that is attached to your system, attached to your computer. The last one, an application, performs one of the tasks required for the device. So these are the 4 different software components which are there for the embedded system. Any embedded system you want to design, we should have an initialization code, we should have an operating system, we should have the device drivers, we should have the application. So these 4 software requirements are very much essential whenever you are going for the embedded system. So initialization code, what exactly initialization code? Initialization code or a boot code takes the processor from the reset state to a state where the operating system can run. Reset state to run state. See, the installation code basically, the system is off, it has to be charged. It should be kept in the run state. The installation code handles a number of administrative tasks prior to handling control over an operating system. Before actual OS operation comes into picture, the installation do a lot of things. So it should take care of that. These tasks are initial hardware configuration, diagnostics, booting. So I think someone is requesting. I'll just check it out. Who is requesting? Just a second. See, you may be having some network issues. You may be logging out and logging in. So there is a issue comes into picture. Each time I need to admit you people. Okay. So now, here what happens? This diagram will explain what is the initial state and what will be the after booting, what will be the state over there. See, before booting, before the installation code, boot ROM will be at the lower end at 0 state. It's going to be reset state. Then your DRAM, dynamic RAM, large contiguous blocks. Then fast SRAM, then IO register. Once the installation has been done properly, then your boot ROM will move at the top of the one. Then fast SRAM will come at the bottom. So these things will be doing. Initializing or organizing memory is an important part of the installation code because many operating systems accept a known memory layout before they can start. Many operating systems accept a known memory layout. This is memory remapping, we are going to call it. Installation code will take care of memory remapping. So once the memory remapping has been done, then we are able to go ahead with the OS operation properly. The installation process prepares the hardware for the operating system to take control. ARM processors support for 50 OS systems. We can divide OS systems into 2 main categories, RTOS and platform operating system. So operating system schedule applications code dedicated to handling the particular task, that is OS. ARM processors are found in numerous market segments including networking, automotive, mobiles and consumer devices, mass storage and imaging. Networking applications like home gateways, DSL modem for high-speed internet communication and 802.11 wireless communication. This also. Mobile device segment is the largest application area for the ARM processor because of mobile phones. ARM processors are also found in mass storage devices such as the hard drives and image products